Longplay 4K Review, Alpha Black Zero Intrepid Protocol. Sometimes it's interesting to think about how computer games are born. I can see a top-secret meeting in a secret room of a corporation, where all the important bosses are gathered. Money-weary gazes drilled into cigar smoke, fingers with expensive rings tapping nervously on the table. We need to make a game with three-dimensional graphics, with more detail, with a smoother movement, and that all the objects explode in all the colors of the rainbow, and that each enemy had a different facial expression, says the most important boss. Let the whole world walk around with bulging eyes for a month. The meeting about Alpha Black Zero went very differently. The world is full of games where graphics are the most important thing, thought the smart heads at Cotton. But not all people care about just shooting. We need to make a game with a twisted plot, so that there was someone to kill and no one to think. We decided to make not just a game, but an interactive sci-fi movie with a detective plot. Well, such a decision is worthy only of praise. It's interesting, the developers were so confident in the success of their brainchild that they talked about creating a sequel 6 months before the official release of the first part. Everyone knows very well where the road of good intentions leads. At the first glance at the proposed world come thoughts of man-made realization of the most dreary fantasies of mankind. Lifeless deserts under red skies, black mountains and trunks sticking out of bushes is not a very cheerful landscape. If I were making a game about a war in hell, the design wouldn't differ from here, not a blade of grass. The game as a whole confirms the view of the future of all good ideas. The script is just great, intricate intrigue, elaborate future world, clash of human feelings and bureaucratic machine. No wonder, the plot is based on Peter Hamilton's cyberpunk novels. The serious engine has been tested for years, however, this is not a particularly strong complement for a computer program, and there are no complaints about the quality of graphics. However, it doesn't deserve any praise either. It should be noted that on the minimum configuration the game becomes more than thoughtful. The sound is not too original, but a rock concert on a deserted planet would sound quite strange. In the moment when the quiet tense music after the first shot is replaced by fast and heavy music creates an ineffable atmosphere. The genre of the game, third-person team-based action, is interesting and not too hackneyed by competitors. You will have to go at the head of a 5-man special forces squad. It's quite convenient to manage your subordinates, and in most cases your comrades in arms don't get tangled under your feet. They are not overly intelligent, but successfully shooting a dozen or two enemies is not a problem for them. Tactical freedom is the biggest pride of the developers. You can choose, go quietly, shooting sentries with sniper rifles, or ride a machine gun hurricane on enemy positions. You can go at once the whole crowd, or you can leave your subordinates and single-handedly exterminate the enemy. As you know, a drop of tar spoils a wagon of jam. The creators of Alpha Black Zero stumbled when designing the terrain. Endless dull landscapes and unreasonably dark colors made from a possible masterpiece just an interesting mediocre of the computer world. The game can be praised or scolded for a long time. One thing is certain, this world has its own style. Controls are not just for fun. As already mentioned, our squad consists of 5 soldiers. Any of them can be made the leader of the group by selecting as active. At any given moment, the player controls the leader and the computer controls the other 4. The leader can give orders to his subordinates. It is possible to split the squad into 2 subgroups for particularly tricky tactical contrivances. Controlling the protagonist is moderately convenient. With the mouse you choose the direction of movement, and with the keyboard, the action. The screen can demonstrate reality in 2 modes, walking and aiming. In the first one you can watch the radar and keep an eye on your subordinates, and in the second one you can aim more precisely and get information about the enemy. All shooting control functions are concentrated in the mouse. Special forces can move crawling, squatting and full height, although I have my suspicions about the epidemic of rheumatism. The difference is obvious, the lower you are, the harder it is to hit you. In addition, the hero can run or walk at the speed of a brooding snail. Your soldiers will copy the leader's actions to the best of their ability. Subordinates can be given orders to hold position, read, wait, regroup, get closer, shoot or don't shoot. In addition, you can choose from 3 firing modes of varying bloodlust. To give an order, you need to select a soldier number, from 1 to 5, and then a command number. To command all at once, you must press the F key or the number of the active soldier. You can switch to another squad member with previous, next, or with Shift 1/2/3/4/5. In order to gain control of the selected soldier, you must step forward. This is important. The not so active shooters in your squad like to use the sniper rifle as a machine gun. Unfortunately, ammunition in this mode is enough for a couple minutes at most. If you need to save ammo, go to sniper control and change the weapon to a pistol. He won't dare to get the rifle back by himself. On the right side of the screen you can see the radar, where the enemies are shown. It should be said that if you can't see anything on the radar, it's not proof that there is no enemy. A cleverly hidden colonist can come right out from under a neighboring bush. You can orient yourself using the compass at the top of the screen, which shows the direction to the target in letters. However, the terrain is so confusing that you often have to go straight in the opposite direction. Even a compass won't save the player from the danger of getting lost in a maze of twin-like hills. Weapons as a means, but not an end. The developers have done everything so that the player would not get confused in the long list of weapons. It was possible not to invent pathos names, and just honestly write, pistol, small machine gun, big machine gun. The choice of weapons can only amaze with its unprecedented narrowness. Bow dart gun. A lightweight, low-powered weapon. Hopefully, you won't have to use it. 18 rounds in the magazine, 90 spares. Sniper silent pistol. Slow but sure destroys the enemy. It can be used if you don't have enough ammo for your main weapon or if you need to keep quiet. There are 25 rounds in the magazine and 125 spare rounds in the magazine. Drentai silent assault rifle. A handy gizmo for killing at medium and short ranges. It is useful not only for quiet passage, but also as an unpretentious weapon of close combat. The main advantage is that the ammunition is enough for a long time, compared to other assault rifles. The magazine holds 50 rounds of ammunition, and the reserve magazine holds 200. M17 URL sniper rifle. Fearsome weapon, kills an armored enemy even if hit in the leg. Equipped with a telescopic sight with proximity mechanism. 10 rounds in the magazine, 10 spare rounds in the magazine. Stig assault rifle. The Stig assault rifle is an all-purpose automatic rifle for medium ranges. The Stig assault rifle has 75 rounds of ammunition and 300 rounds of spare ammunition. HK-90 machine gun. Even a small machine gun is a machine gun. It destroys enemies with the calmness of a lawnmower, but is as voracious as a hippopotamus. 150 rounds in the magazine, 300 in the spare. Freyland rifle. A strange product of someone's sick imagination. Combines the features of a sniper rifle and a grenade launcher. Suitable for taking out enemy groups. 1 round in the magazine, 19 spare rounds. Grenades remain something to throw at the enemy. On the other hand, for some reason they don't explode, but fizz loudly. You can only kill an enemy with a direct hit to the head, but it can also be useful to confuse them. When a grenade is thrown at you, you can tell by the beeping sound. It is advisable to quickly lie down on the floor. Grenades can be thrown either by hand or with a grenade launcher. A real weapon for the lazy, one-shot, many victims. Among other things, you can also kill the enemy with your bare hands. If you approach him from behind and hit him, spacebar, death will be quick and quiet. The method is designed for fans of quiet kills. Even such a small assortment of developers seemed too complicated. It is impossible to choose the armament of each soldier. There are only 3 standard sets for the whole squad, for quiet passage, for full-scale combat and for the war of extermination. For the quiet passage we're offered 2 silent assault rifles, 2 sniper rifles and an assault rifle. All the guns are signature. For combat we offered 2 assault rifles, a silent assault rifle, a machine gun, a sniper rifle, 3 bow dart pistols and 2 signature. For a war of extermination, we have 2 machine guns, 2 assault rifles, and 1 Freyland rifle. The pistols in this case are bow. You can replenish your health and ammo in carts or crates hidden near all sorts of buildings. Key, T. Carts can be identified by a green dot on the radar. Apparently, ammunition is synthesized right inside the cart, otherwise how can you explain that you can find modern ammunition of all types in carts abandoned by colonists? It's interesting, the carts are highly intelligent. Not only do they supply us with only the ammunition we need, but they don't give us anything twice in the same hands. Your soldiers will never think of reloading their weapons themselves, so you have to choose each soldier and lead him to the car to replenish the ammo. In some missions you feel yourself not as a unit commander, but as an ammo boy. Enemies. Ancient wisdom says, "Tell me who your enemy is and I'll tell you who you are." The main characteristic of enemy soldiers in Alpha Black Zero is unpredictability. The same looking colonists can behave in completely different ways. One will shoot somewhere to the side and will reload his rifle in the middle of the battle, the other will hide behind a hill, and the third will run away screaming. A lot of work has been put into the behavior of enemy soldiers. As practice shows, not always such expenses pay for themselves, but the attempt itself is not bad. The developers have provided 18 different characters of colonists and 30 characters of mercenaries. Among them are hero, kamikaze, panicker, coward, sniper. Characters differ in vision, accuracy, morality, caution, hearing, attentiveness and other parameters. Colonist. A simple peasant who was given a gun and sent to fight. Often falls asleep right at his post, does not wear armor. Dangerous because he can hide well and attack from behind. Now rest will become eternal. Mercenary. The difference between an amateur and a professional is visible at once. A mercenary acts smarter and is better armed. However, up to a real special forces he is far away in all respects. Troglo imperialist. The Greek word troglo means caves, and Latin imperium means power. I give the reader the pleasure of combining these 2 words. These are barbarians from the fringes of the galaxy who want to dominate humanity. The Imperium's armament is slightly inferior to yours, but they work well together and can be a serious threat. Pi 7 operative. Pi 7 is the security service of Halo Leonidas. Pi in this case is not a substitute for a profane word, but a parody of the English Mi-7 service. These are the same special forces as your subordinates, armed with the same weapons, just as trained. They try to act together, cover each other, dodge bullets and take favorable positions. We can't say that they always succeed, but the attempt itself is worthy of attention. To them, you are traitors who have attacked your own command. While you are shooting one of the operatives at point blank range, the other one, hiding far away, is just able to take you in the crosshairs of a sniper rifle. Sentry gun. A robot machine gun that stands in one place, but has impressive firepower. Div S1 Spider is a small robot that sneaks up on people and explodes under their feet. It can move on ceilings and walls as well as on the floor. One spider is no problem, but a dozen robots attacking from different directions can lead to an agonizing death. Rapid fire is the best way to fight. The Div S1 Battle Droid is a large and dangerous war machine. Equipped with both a machine gun and melee paws. The only joy is that he is as graceful as a hippopotamus. The bigger your weapon, the shorter the robot's life will be. Death by protocol. The faces of P7 operatives do not glow with intelligence. On March 2, 2366, Secret Service Lieutenant Kyle Hardlow stands trial before a military tribunal on the planet Quahera on charges of mass murder of civilians. We are to find out why a mission that began as a routine reconnaissance mission on a provincial planet ended in the deaths of hundreds of government colony workers. The lieutenant explains his actions over the previous 2 months in order. His story consists of clips, more like episodes of a movie, and of combat missions in which the player will have to solve the assigned tasks. Omen's importance. January 8, 2366. A combat team under the command of Lieutenant Kyle Hardlaw is sent to the planet Shin to check the information about the presence of an unknown military organization. His task is to find the residence of the planet's administrator George Panshin, ensure his safety and gather information about the actions of the Troglo imperialists. Before the eyes of the 5 special forces lies a lifeless hilly terrain. How do people spend their lives here? Before we arrived, the main cause of death was probably boredom. The first encounter with a colonist was not long in coming. An honest attempt to approach and have a peaceful conversation failed miserably. The rattle, in fact, was made by the peasant's prehistoric rifle. Further, we are waiting for 102 such meetings and a dozen kilometers of the same landscape. The terrain disposes to the use of sniper rifle, and the tactics is reduced to a close inspection of the hills through a telescopic sight. This is interesting. In most games, the population consists only of armed men. Alpha Black Zero is no exception in this matter, but in one of the episodes the protagonist scratches the back of his head and utters, "And the women and children have gone to the mountains." And with a sense of accomplishment, he continues fighting. The next task is to guard the embassy. For 20 minutes, the colonists climb the fence in small batches and try to run to the entrance. From the outside, the action resembles a strange sport that resembles a mixture of American soccer and shooting. The fact that the colonists did not go to the assault at least in groups of 10 makes you seriously question whether they have at least the rudiments of intelligence. The last task is to go on a reconnaissance mission. All would be nothing, but it was decided to do it at night and in the rain. As a consequence, the most difficult thing is not to get lost. The result of the mission, Troglo imperialist activity confirmed. Firestorm. Firestorm is not a metaphor. January 10, 2366. We're on Fujiyama, a planet of great promise and equally great disappointment. It was conceived as a world open to all cultures and religions. As you can easily guess, Fujiyama's short history ended with a bloody religious war and the evacuation of personnel. Our command suspects that several stations of the interplanetary data network disappeared far from accidentally. The developers delight us with a dubious variety. Hilly terrain is replaced by mountains. The first mission is to protect civilians. To bring at least one of the 2 engineers to a safe place, a task not too difficult, but it must be done again, and again, and again. For most players, this is not a pleasure. The tour guide's work is interrupted by a rain of fire, the space fleet is blown up in orbit. The mission to save civilians is failed, it remains to take care of your safety. The nearest task is to run to the shelter, not too distracted by the enemies. However, they are more busy saving their lives. The end of the mission catches the squad in an unenviable position. We've been abandoned to our fate, and there's no way to get off Fujiyama. It seems we've been sacrificed like a pawn. The Fury of Silicon Hearts. January 11, 2366, Fujiyama. With nowhere to go, we just stand around and wait for events to unfold. To do something about it, Lieutenant Hardlaw decided to infiltrate an abandoned settlement called Cameron's Hope. There we meet Sigil, a Cassiopeia-class artificial intelligence designed to help the planet's colonists. What at the end of the 20th century was merely a means of forecasting the economy and controlling complex installations has, in the middle of the 24th century, become the basis for all government activity. Without the advice of electronic machines, the government cannot step a single step, all Federation life, all military decisions, the entire structure of the Sologov depend on artificial brains. People have forgotten that a computer is only a smart tool. A processor and motherboard will never replace human brains, it's just a machine, fast, useful, smart, but a machine. It started with people trusting the spell checker and a common editor more than their own knowledge. It ended with the deaths of millions of people. This is interesting, as scientists admit, it is not difficult to create a thinking machine. To do this, You just need to gain enough computing power, not the most difficult task for the beginning of the 21st century. What is really difficult, almost impossible, is to make artificial intelligence similar to human intelligence. Finally, the individual fragments began to fit together into a coherent mosaic. We are in the center of a rebellion against the very heart of the Solgov Federation. The Exophagus cartels have been defeated in open warfare, but now they are closer to success than ever. The colonists' mutiny on Shin is a simple distraction. Using the transmitter on Fujiyama, the criminals intend to gain access to the data axis, the network linking the Solgov planets. If they succeed, they will be able to control all the activities of the Central Federation. Special systems were created to attack the Cassiopeia-class artificial intelligences, which were given the name of the ancient Greek goddess of retribution, Nemesis. The Federation's main strength turned out to be its main weakness as well, with Solgov on the brink of disaster. The ship conducting the evacuation from Fujiyama was lost due to the fault of the first Nemesis. In order to stop the electronic attack, we must hit the enemy's most vulnerable point, the router. Without it, they won't be able to quickly enter the data axis. Dark Citadel. January 12, 2366, Fujiyama. The squad has a chance to get off the cursed planet. A pact is made between the humans and the Sigil, the destruction of the Nemesis in exchange for evacuation from the planet. The enemy artificial intelligence is located in the planet's base structure. These structures are dropped on the planet's surface at the beginning of terraforming and serve as the basis for the development of the entire colony. After the equipment and gear is used, the structure is usually dismantled or converted to a power plant. The base structure of Fujiyama was adapted for their needs by the Troglo imperialists. The easiest way to destroy the Nemesis is to blow up the supports of the base structure. The entire maintenance staff will go to hell as well. We will have to place explosives on 4 supports and then quickly evacuate. The only good thing is that our soldiers can't fall from the heights. And on the way to the giant building we are waiting for the same dreary terrain and crowds of mercenaries. Interesting is the possibility to change weapons before entering the enemy's lair. Is there a warehouse with weapons for dear guests? Killing time. Protagonists, Muhammad Uraya and Kyle Hardlow. January 12, 2366, orbiting Fujiyama. Sigil didn't fool us. We were able to board the SDF-2 satellite with the Troglo imperialists aboard. Our immediate goal is to get to the communications center and raise the alarm. To do that, we'll have to get through the armed barricades. The bad news is the enemy has been reinforced. Sigil died in a confrontation with the Nemesis, but his work lives on. He managed to give us information vital to the Sol GS. At last we're rid of the monotonous hills. Now the narrow and dark corridors of the space station await us. Of the new enemies, there are engineers armed with explosives. Apparently, the Troglo imperialists are throwing whole armies against us. In such conditions we can use heavy weaponry, which allows us to kill at short distances. Operation Shiva. This is not a random pipe, but a path just for us. January 12, 2366. Hooray, help has finally arrived. A bit disconcerting is the fact that in practice we see only a new commander. It should be noted that this approach perfectly simulates the real world. Often you hope for the arrival of a new employee, but you get a new boss. This is how we meet scientist and military man, Captain Muhammad Uraya of the Secret Service, who will play a major role in the rest of the script. Behind the good news we get even better news, we're back on Fujiyama. Destroying the Nemesis seemed like a good move to the screenwriters. In the discussion of the mission we are frightened by the appearance of 6 more, and then mercifully allowed to destroy only 3. The main condition, it must be done discreetly. They are located on the islands suddenly found on the planet. The leadership sensitively guides our every move to disable the unfriendly electronic brains. Our job is to find a way in without being noticed. Practice in the form of 3 consecutive Nemesis will improve our skills. Mission accomplished. We have captured the Nemesis and delivered them to the scientists. The hard workers of science, led by Professor Ray Aya, have begun analyzing the information that the electronic brains possess. This process is aptly named torture. About 5 minutes of the game are devoted to explaining how someone who has no concept of pain can be tortured. To describe the process briefly, the attack on Nemesis was made by special artificial intelligences, affectionately named Peggy. Our hero has a legitimate question: where did the devices against the devices, the existence of which was not known? The answer is simple: the Peggy is designed to attack the Cassiopeia, the basis of the Solgius' entire existence. That's an interesting statement, isn't it? To justify the logicality of such a scheme, Araya cites 20th century military history as an example. Predator and Prey. January 23, 2366. The time has come to fight an enemy territory. According to information received from the captured Nemesis, the planet Tiefenbach is home to an exophagous cartel factory for the production of artificial intelligence systems. It is up to us to engage in sabotage by eliminating the source of the electronic brains. Man vs. Machine. Looks like the game's writers have run out of imagination by this point. You don't need to be a prophet to guess, the surface of Tiefenbach is no different from Shin and Fujiyama. In the story, the plant we're interested in is in a rebuilt base structure. Very convenient, all the base structures are similar to each other, the artists didn't have to come up with new interiors. We flew to another star system, but we didn't find anything we hadn't seen before. The most vividly detailed mission is illustrated by the tasks set by the command. Task 1, place a bomb on reactor number 1. Task 2, place a bomb on reactor 2. Task 3, place a bomb on reactor 3. Task 4, place the bomb on reactor 4. It would be much easier for everyone to just skip to the last mission without further ado. For whom the bell tolls. Kyle Hardlow pleads not guilty. February 19, 2366. Events have taken an unexpected turn. The Nemesis is built with technology developed in Solg Labs. Section 91, where Peggy was assembled, has also spawned the greatest danger to the human Federation. Humans have completely lost control of artificial intelligence. Electronic brains are designing new electronic brains, and no one is able to tell what this has already led to. For intelligent machines, human life is of no value. They can do millions of people to death just by competing with each other. There is no telling whether another whim of artificial brains will lead to the end of human civilization. However, are other people's lives valuable to humans? Lieutenant Kyle Hardlow is on trial not for the deaths of many thousands of colonists on the outer planets, but for the murder of 100 government employees. Their fault is merely for getting in the way between a battle group and an artificial intelligence core. So, Muhammad Araya and Kyle Hardlow set out to destroy a lair of electronic monsters. To do so, the Alpha Black Zero group arrived at the Leonidium Halo. The first task is to find the entrance to Section 91. To be honest, it's harder not to find it than to find it. It's a huge iron door. The problem is that the entrance is guarded by P7 operatives. 2 doors and 5 soldiers, room for tactical fantasy. Watch out for snipers. Next we'll find narrow corridors and security robots. It's time to establish justice. And only when we've done our job will we wonder what that justice is. Lieutenant Kyle Hardlow has been exonerated, but has he achieved his goal? Afterward. The fate of the game is in many ways similar to its scenario. It all started with a great idea that found its fulfillment in a great script. The logical, consistent story from the future of mankind does not dwell on simple shooting at running targets, but resembles a good sci-fi novel. Now and then the player finds parallels between the worlds of the 21st and 24th centuries. The authors have done a good job on the squad management, and especially on the intelligence of our enemies. Except that players have to be very persistent people. The maps are long and confusing, and the design is rather monotonous. Yes, maybe it's realistic, but it's a bit too much. The result of the developers' work is something like fried potatoes under ice cream, a dish for amateurs. For fans of harsh life of special forces, long art inserts are just another reason for irritation, and the tasks are too strange. For science fiction fans, the game is too long. While you pass the next mission, you forget the whole plot. Individually, each ingredient is quite good, but together they more often cause sighs of incomprehension. Let's hope that this is only the beginning of a large and diverse series of games with a really decent story.